Hey, welcome to the show, Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. This is Coach James Short, aka Shorty. And this is a show for those within the real estate industry wanting to lead and grow their real estate business. It's a series of interviews that we conduct for those within the industry. So we're finding out what those leaders are within the industry, what makes them tick, what's their story, what are their strategies, and how to become the leaders and the growers within the industry. But also, it's an interview series with those outside of the industry. I'm always a big believer of looking at a whole different part of the pie rather than just focusing on one part of the pie. Because what it does, it allows you to have a different perspective, allows you to get snippets or golden nuggets from those outside of the industry that can look into the industry and go, there's a different perspective. And so I encourage you to reach out to the guests. I encourage you to lean into these series to find out how can these pieces of information, experiences, stories help you lead and grow your real estate business. The man, the myth, the legend, David Gray.
Hello.
Welcome to another show.
I think even Angel as well.
Yes, even Angel. The lifestyle dog. For those who don't know, David Gray, CEO, founder of the Lifestyle Group, Mid-North Coast, 23 offices,
Yep.
over 200 staff, all up and down the Mid-North Coast we've got from Foster to Brunswick,
Foster to Bruns, yeah.
everything in between. What a journey.
Yeah, I think I'm a bit biased, but I think we've got the best coastline from there to there, so very lucky.
Very much so, very much so. So, for those who don't know, like you're living under a rock, the growth and the change you've seen up and down the Mid-North Coast has been huge. Obviously, the transition from elders to lifestyle, which has been a huge success. Excited?
Yeah, really excited. Yeah, I mean, the ride with Elders was amazing. It was
Yep.
a really good run. And what I say is we sort of outgrew the franchise model, so it was no reflection of Elders itself. I think it was just time for us to have our own personality.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, you're really big on leadership, which is awesome. You've got an amazing leadership team. Where did that leadership team concept come from?
Yeah, I think started off in Port, and as I said, I came up just for a little bit of a cash flow business.
Yep.
And then realised, I think it happened when I bought the second office. I went to Crescent Head. I was like, double the problems, not double the income. And then around Port, I was like, well, I'm going to build a ring, and then that'll be big enough to actually have a leadership team.
Yep.
So that I just didn't always have a job. And that way I wanted a head of sales, head of PM, head of culture. And then romantically, I thought I'll buy a place up at Evans Head, which would be like a little holiday place, and then I realised we need a ring around that, and then now we're looking in that Nambucca Coffs region, and then eventually we'll have the 3 leadership teams across the group.
Wow, that's exciting. And
Yeah.
so how does that then work? So you have you obviously with the leadership team, and then how does that then filtrate through the 200 plus team?
Yeah, look, I think that's never ending, and that's something that I spent so much time in. I think we just actually looked at some figures then about building the business and how it grew so quickly when I was just in charge of one group. As you grow, obviously you dilute. I draw on when you look at Westpac when, a CEO of 10,000 people. So my journey now is like, yeah, sure, when you got 10 or 20, you can really move the needle with those people. Yeah. At the moment, and I'm quite open, I'm burning myself out trying to still be like I was for 10 or 20 people.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to reinvent my leadership so I can still be a lot for 200 people. And I think it's like we got some new starters, so I'm doing a Zoom with those 6 people.
Yep.
To actually put in my diary every single week is hard to manage, but now it's like, hey, Tay, find me a spot this week. Next week, find me a spot this week. So I think no matter what, it's just trial and error and just always looking at it. But there's one thing with leadership is that you've always got to improve. Because if your business has got to grow, you've got to grow.
How do you, well then coming back to then how do you then stay ahead of the curve and being that CEO, that founder, that leader with the whole organisation?
Yeah. Well, a lot of time in the mirror, looking at yourself, that's for sure.
Yep.
Look, I'm really transparent. So I think when you're really transparent with your team, then you don't need to be perfect.
Yep.
Because then, you're not actually putting on a front. Like the Dave you see here is the same Dave at the pub, or it's the same Dave, no matter where you see me. So I think that's really important. Obviously, they see a different side of you.
Sure.
Like I said, I've got 2 different coaches. So I'm always looking to grow from that level.
Yep.
And then it's about what you give back to your team. Yeah. So, if I'm really spending a lot of time with one person in the leadership team, then they have a lot more of an impact. And like I say, if I'm running 11 out of 10 and then I don't spend any time with my team are running 6 out of 10, well, there's no more play in me. But if I go back to a 9,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden they go from a 6 to an 8, just on maths,
Yeah.
that's a better structure.
Makes sense. You talk a lot. You talk a lot about coaching and training in the business, and you said you've just mentioned you got coaches, number of coaches that you work with. Why do you provide so much coaching and training to the team? Where has that come from, and where have you seen some of the benefits?
Look, I spent all that time with Arthur at Polymold, possibly 16 years, and, it was a journey, it was an apprenticeship, but they gave me a lot. They made me feel a lot more than a staff member. You never were a brother, but at times I felt like the third brother. That meant a lot to me, so I want to sort of give that back to my team. I think regionally I love. The gap that I see between regional and growing up in Sydney is that I got to witness a lot more success, or I got to see a lot more different mentors, and just by osmosis you generally picked up a lot more. Regional's now given me a lot. It's given me a purpose. Yep. So now, if I can give that same inspiration back to regional, I'm not going anywhere. So
That's
yeah,
beautiful. And so if someone's thinking about making a change and thinking a young agent, maybe a couple of wins under their belts, looking to make a change, what would you say to them that might be interested in coming over to the Lifestyle Group?
Hey guys, just a little side note here. How's it going? Are you on track this year? I know that sometimes this part of the year we can feel like we're in a bit of a grind, a bit of in the trenches. Are you on track from the original plans that you set out for the rest of this year? What I've realized is that with this time of year, we get so distracted and we've got trying to chase so many shiny balls and go down so many rabbit holes. And that's why I created a program called the 90. It's a framework that actually allows you to achieve more in 90 days than ever before. Some of the feedback that we've got from some of the people that have used the process, the 90, is that they've achieved more in 90 days than the whole previous year. So if you'd like to have the tools, have the techniques, have the framework on the 90, so you and your team can achieve more in 90 days than ever before. What it does, it impacts you of how to get clear, what you need to do, and who you need to be to show up in order to achieve the things you want to achieve over the next 90 days. Simply head over to jamesshort.com.au, click on join the waitlist, fill in your details, and one of the team members will be in touch and take you through the 90 framework. On with the show.
I mean, I not bring it back to me, but just even a mate that's been in the industry a long time, and he just rang me up, said, I'm thinking about making a change. I said, okay, design the perfect first. Design the perfect. What does perfect look like? For what could you do at Lifestyle, or what could you do anywhere? Like I just said to him, if you came to me, I'd say design perfect. I'm not saying it could work, but at least we know where to work backwards.
Yeah.
Design what that looks like. And then once you design what that looks like, I said to him, then go away. How does that look money-wise? Don't start there. How does it look money-wise? How does it look to your family? How does it look back to you? And then back to his business partner currently.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think what the problem is, a lot of people only look at their view. You've got to look at every stakeholder. And, as I even spoke about the family, is such a big part.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm so proud about Lifestyle, is that people talk about 3X and 10X. I've seen so many people being burnt out in this industry. Like, I love what I do and I overwork, and I own that now. I used to be sort of ashamed of it. Now I own it. I've got a deep core, drive for that. I don't coach that.
Yep.
If I'm coaching our team, I'm more about their version of balance. That's not the perfect balance, but their version of balance. Yeah, and at different stages of the career. Like, there's times where, no, you've got to go hard. And there's other times where you can be looking for purpose.
Yeah. And so then, if you were to sum up the current culture within Lifestyle, how would you articulate that to someone who may be listening or watching to this?
We're not perfect, but we care.
Yep.
If it's broken, we'll fix it.
Yeah, nice.
Like, and that might sound simple, but I don't see that in a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
So first of all, we acknowledge, like, we're not, drinking our own Kool-Aid. Like, we know we've got growth. We really do care, from myself right through the leadership team. If we know about something, we really deeply care about it.
Yeah.
And like, we'll fix it. Problem solution. Really simple, but, that's why I feel so, proud and, just love being part of our team. Like, I know, I just did up a supermarket, and I got a bill for like $6,000 to clean it. And my group GM, EA and head of accounts were all going to clean it for me because it was too much money in cleaning.
Yeah, right.
The same, I still occasionally go up and clean the toilets. So no job is above any of us.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. So what's on the horizon? What's coming up over the next 6 to 12 months? You got some exciting plans?
Yeah, I think really developing. So obviously lifestyle, you rip the Band-Aid off. You're never quite ready to rip the Band-Aid off. Now it's like, what does lifestyle mean? So in a 60-second pitch, I even struggle, depending on who I'm talking to.
Sure.
So we're now formulating what that actually means.
Yep.
At some stage, it's not about what you say yes to, it's what you say no to.
Sure.
And I can say that, but I can't necessarily live that. But I think at the moment, Foster to Bruns, that's the thing. There was talk of us possibly going over the mountains. I don't think that's on the cards for now.
Yep.
In different parts of Australia and New Zealand, there's businesses with 30, 40, 50% market share. I think in the next sort of 1 to 3 years, it's going to be a real market share play. And notice, I'm not saying number one, I'm not saying the best in the world, market share. Why market share? If you've got strong market share, it's easier for everyone to do business.
Yeah.
And it's not ego driven. And I really think, no offense to the mum and dad operator, but I don't see that as the future. My biggest competitor, I think, is going to be the person that works at home or, in the car. Or, you're seeing these big groups. And if you study other businesses, even shopping centres or whatever else, or retail, or financial services, they're either getting smaller or bigger. And that's probably our biggest drive is let's get that market share. And you don't need to be the smartest, but sometimes first to market's a big plus.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you would have now, as you said, it's more about saying no to yes to opportunities. How do you, if someone was to come to you, say, hey, I'm looking to sell, mum and dad going, I'm done, I'm out. How do you then evaluate that on a back of a coaster, or obviously you've got a formula that you go through. What's your thinking process to seeing if it could be a possible yes?
Yeah, well, up until now, I suppose it's been the geographic reason to fill in the holes. I look to see where I can add value. I've seen really, really amazing businesses that I've been scared to buy because I'm not in them every day. So there's a certain USP that we add that can be different to an owner operator. So I look to see what value we can add. And then it's also about their journey of whether they're going to hang around or whether they're going to leave. So there's so many things that we look at as part of it. But I think probably where I've dropped the ball a bit is maybe on the due diligence, because I always back our leadership team and know what we can do. So it's like when I buy a property, some people focus on the purchase price. I focus on what I can turn it into.
Yep.
So sometimes paying a little bit more, knowing that I can turn into that. And it's just like business. A lot of it's from where I know we can go. I mean, Foster was, number 7th or 8th in Foster. We've only been around about 12 months. We're in number 1 market share.
Yep.
And we've seen that in other markets we've been involved in. So our energy, our accountability, our care, teamwork, and also can do, and just providing people with that inspiration. We only ever need to do 5% more to get 50% better results.
True.
Yeah,
I like that. So a young agent may be listening to this, young sales agent. What would be your best piece of advice who, they maybe on a bit of a roll, a bit of a momentum? What would you give them as words of encouragement or a piece of advice?
I mean, even though I'd love to recruit, first is grass isn't always greener.
Yeah.
So if you're going along really well, I always say if someone's coming to me possibly looking to join, I'm like, well, if your head's up, make the move or make the decision not to make the move, but don't live in limbo.
Yeah.
And I think so many of us live in what? Own where you are. So if it's working where you are, double down and really go for it. Because, whether you're the yellow band or lifestyle brand or the pink or the blue, every brand has shown that they can work.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'd always bring it back to them. Own where you're at, own where you want to go, and make it about that. And if you're ever looking to do the change, well, rip the Band-Aid off. And don't wait for a quiet month. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so many people going, well, if you're going to make the move, make the move. If not, and I'll talk heaps of people out of not moving.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of that, because it's got to be the right fit for me and them.
Yeah, definitely. Fantastic. Well, really appreciate your time, energy. I know you're super busy. We're here at the Lifestyle Ranch. How good is this up in Byron Bay? Thank you, mate, for everything that you've done for the industry, for me personally as well, and all the team. Absolutely amazing.
We love working with you, Shorty. So thank you.